Um, I was running an event over the weekend that I'm going to talk about, and a friend of mine told me, Antonio, I read this article, and I think that this article reminded me of you. And I went ahead and read it, and it said that there's two kinds of entrepreneurs, or there's many kinds of entrepreneurs, but there's these two kinds. One is the explorer, and the other one is the conqueror, right? So the conqueror, wants to kill everybody else, be at top of the hill. And the explorer is an entrepreneur that is interested in new things and is attracted to new things, even if it's really risky. They don't really know what's going on. Now, the good thing is, they said that I'm like Jeff Bezos, and I do believe that I'm like that. I'm not attracted so much at the competition as I am at the exploration of something new. And actually, that's my very good friend Ricardo Germanetti, and we're climbing up when we were 16, the Ruiz in the Andes, which is a 5-kilometer high mountain. This is just the two of us. My friend is there looking to see if there's a crevice, and I'm on the other end of that road that you can see there, right? And that's just the two of us. That was a little crazy when I think about it, right? But yeah, so I guess that's it. And when I look at my life as an entrepreneur, it was an adventure about exploring new things. At some point in my life, I thought I wanted to be a physicist. So I ended up in France. So I wanted to go to the CERN, and I wanted to, study particles. But I found that I was not. I ended up taking pictures. That's why. So I went to Greece, and I did a bunch of other things. I thought I was an engineer, civil engineer. But then I discovered computers when I was in college, and I ended up starting my first company with my computer science professor in my civil engineering college. Doing computer programming and software, which led me to GIS, which moved me to the Caribbean, which led me to work with governments, which basically drove me away from governments. And then I ended up working in CRM, customer relationship management, and I came back to GIS because Vinograph came back to Vinograph, at some point, I saw the emergence of the cloud, and that drove me away from Intergraph. In the 2008 timeframe, I saw the emergence of all this startup ecosystem culture. I read the book by Brad Feld, the Startup Communities book. And I was traveling around the country and seeing what was going on with the startup movement. And I thought, man, that's the next thing. I need to do that. And I thought I was going to do the same thing I've always done. It's like, oh, it's happening in Austin, or it's happening in San Francisco. I'm going to go there. But I had a 16-year-old of my own, or at the time, a 13-year-old of my own. And I really liked the city. So I said, well, maybe a different adventure is to try to create that startup ecosystem here in town. And I started talking about this concept of becoming a catalyst for this ecosystem in North Alabama. And then everybody was looking at me like, side eyes, and it's like, bless his heart, he's not from here. Right? and it's been an interesting journey to develop this community and this ecosystem, right? I mean, this is really not a startup per se, but it's a very entrepreneurial endeavor. And the idea was, how do we create a series of activities, a series of things that engage people in such a way that we can get them connected, inspired, so that they can start their own businesses and they can be successful at it, right? Because we know that people start businesses all the time and then they fail all the time. How do we change that a little bit? And we thought a lot, and we basically worked with people, and the conclusion we've had at the moment is that the startup ecosystem, at least the one that I like and the one I think is successful, is free range, open source, and organic. What do I mean by that? These people are free range. I mean, they're gonna go wherever they go. It's like, this is my startup, and I've seen this a lot of places, my portfolio companies and all that stuff. That doesn't make any sense, because these people are gonna go wherever they can find success, right? These entrepreneurs. Second is, and this is the part that is very radically different from Huntsville, it's open source. I don't have to explain what open source is to people here, right? This is a secret town. Everybody keeps a secret. Everything is a secret sauce, right? And I cannot tell you until you give me your NDA. Well, it doesn't work with the startups, commercial startups, or startups that at least that I'm interested in. Why? Because it's through the conversations that things really happen. It's through that exchange of information that the aha moment happens, right? A lot of people think they have a fantastic idea until they find the first customer, and then they find out that nobody needs that, right? But there might be an additional thing that could be interesting, and that has to be conversation. And the other part is really, you cannot force it. It has to be organic. The relationships, the true relationships come not top down, come from peer to peer, like this kind of setting. So with that, we've been doing a lot of stuff, but I want to talk to you about this last experiment we did, which is amazing. It's the best thing we've ever done, the best thing I've done personally in my life. It was the 24-hour generator. How many of you guys knew about this event? Okay, so there's a few people that didn't. You guys need to know about this. So 24-hour generator is inspired by a program in Chattanooga called Co-Starters that we are part of, and we license here for North Alabama. And what the 24-hour generator was an attempt to take a program that is made for adults to teach them how to start a business and how to create a business model for their business for children, for high schoolers. And the problem is, high schoolers, they cannot take a 9-week program, and they really don't have a business for the most part. So how do you take this process of figuring out a business for someone that's high school that has a very limited attention span? So they decide to do it in a weekend competition, right? Friday through Saturday. To alleviate the problem of coming up with the best idea, right? Which is always a terrible problem to have. And by the way, what you need to have is a bad idea, then work at it. So all ideas are bad. So the kids were paired with companies that will present the kids with a problem they have, a real business problem, not a theoretical business problem. And then the kids have to come up with a solution using business modeling and using mentors and facilitators like they were a business owner. And so we had the fortune to be able to bring in a bunch of kids. There were kids from over 10 schools here in North Alabama. There were public, private, homeschools, or homeschoolers. And we also had a visiting delegation from Central America, from Global Ties. So we had an extremely diverse group of kids, 47 kids, 5 countries, all colors under the rainbow. This is how it looked like. So this was a typical team, in this case actually, most of them were girls, which I really enjoyed. And then, all the colors, and then you can see Nick here, who was one of the business owners, right? So we had a great variety of business owners. We had nonprofits, tech companies, all young, right? So it was really interesting to see that. And it was great to see these kids come up and so looking at all the different options they had, they were talking with their mentors, coming up with these ideas. And then the next day, all of them gave great presentations. So when you look at this energy, right, and look at these connections, right? This guy here, Dan, he owns a company here in town. He's a CEO. He was taking up his time to just talk to these kids and help them. So it goes back to why we created RocketHatch, right? So we said, look, this is a 3-stool economy, I think, that we could have, where we have a great federal business economy, billions of dollars flowing through the gates. We have hundreds of jobs in manufacturing right now. But when you look at the startup ecosystem, it's really, really poor, right? We have a few hundred companies, and those companies usually don't hire hundreds of people. They hire 10, 20 people. And quite frankly, that's the future anyways. So we need thousands of those companies to have a thriving ecosystem. But we have the potential. We have everything that is needed. So what we want to do is to take a bite of the $58 billion economy that is a startup ecosystem economy in the United States. If you look at that, and this is from last year, which arguably was a little bit of a high point, it might go down. In the Southeast, we're 2 billion. In Alabama, 30 million. So again, 58 billion, 30 million, it's not like in the margin of error. And we are in Huntsville, probably in the 6 million, right? Chattanooga alone is 30 million. Chattanooga, little Chattanooga, which is the same size as we are, is $30 million. In Tennessee is 200 million, so there's a lot to go. But then worse than that, how many of you guys have heard of Davos? Right, the economic forum. How many of you have heard of the fourth industrial revolution? Right? The fourth industrial revolution basically said, look, it's finally going to happen. It didn't happen last century, it's going to happen now. 90% of the jobs are gone. So with this, right, we are going to have to come up with a different way of thinking and a different way of creating businesses. The case is in China. This is news from last July. Was this factory, and again, this is in China where supposedly you pay cheap labor and it's not a problem to have people for very low wages. They replaced 90% of the jobs in one factory. What was the result? Productivity soared, quality improved. Of course, it's robots, right? This thing is going to work all the time. Now they're going to try to replace the remaining 10% of the people in the next 10 to 5 years, right? And if you think about it, what do you guys think is the largest employment occupation in the United States? What do you guys think it is? The Bureau of Labor Statistics. What do you think they say it is? Huh? What? Truck drivers. Truck drivers. What? What do you think is going to happen to truck drivers in 5 years?
Self-driving cars.
Exactly. Right? And that's the largest piece. The next one over, do you know what people are doing at factories right now? And I was in a factory here recently. Load and unload. No, they don't do this. This is done. This is gone. Loading and unloading. How many of you guys have seen the Boston Robotics Atlas robot? Right? They got it. It's opening doors. It's walking in the snow, and it's picking boxes and pushing them back up. Those jobs are gone. Right? So we think that as a city, and this is what I thought was interesting to do, is it was cool what was going on, but I think now it's critical, it's vital that we get into entrepreneurship and that we have a thriving startup ecosystem. Why? Because a STEM is not enough anymore. Now we're talking about innovation and entrepreneurship for kids. That's why we did the 24-hour generator. That's why we thought it was so important. But we also think that it's important for adults. So I have my announcement. Anybody knows what this is? Will this fly, you guys? Will this fly? Come on. This is our business, startup business pitch competition. It's coming up in May 7th. It's going to be part of Innovate Huntsville. It's going to be from May 1st to May 7th. We're bringing in angel groups, accelerators from around the United States. We want to have the best companies to pitch with us. So if you're interested in pitching, volunteering, helping with this, just come and see me. All right, and with this, thank you very much.
All right.